I kick ass for the Lord.
What about me?
I never loved him the way that I love you. Just drops the mic.
Bit me with his butt.
Can't see it from here.
What about the panty?
What about the panty? What's up, Butters? If you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you guys better be watching the stream. Tricked them. See what I did there? What's up, everybody? Welcome to 52/1993, the live movie conversation podcast, where we discuss movies from the year 1993. I am your host, Cody, and I am joined by my co-host today. This week, it is Ryan. Welcome, Ryan. Thank you again for joining us. I think this is your third time, but
Yeah, I'm an old hat now.
you are. You're in the club, so welcome in. We're happy for you to join us today. Just to give you all a little bit of a heads up, if this is your first time joining us, basically what we do is we watch 52 movies from the year 1993, and we talk about them. We do it based on their release dates, by weekend releases. Doesn't matter if they're good movies or if they're bad movies. And then I have a guest host on to talk about that movie. And we either talk lovingly about it or trash it or do whatever we want because it's ours. So fuck you. That's probably not the best thing to say to people that are joining. But
if you're new here, fuck you.
if you're new here, I don't care. No, if you are new here and you do like what you hear or see or play along or whatever, feel free to hit that follow button and join us every week as we do this. And we may do this continually, changing the year up. We're almost to the end of 1993. We'll be moving into a new year, 1994. So join us, won't you? That's that's copyrighted from another podcast, so I probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I know what
That's Karina Longworth.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, welcome in. I love you all. And Ryan, how are you? How are things going, Ryan? How was your movie watching experience this past weekend?
It was great. Yeah, I was excited for this one. This is I think for a lot of kids in the 90s, this was on like the VHS loop of kid movies we watched over and over and over again. So,
and I'll go ahead and ask, did you watch this movie more than you watched the original Sister Act?
I think that's true. I definitely saw the original and I saw it more than once as a kid, but I definitely think we saw this one more.
I think this is our Sister Act, like millennial Sister Act, and I think Sister Act is for our parents.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like it's a bunch of old nuns in the first one. Like
it's old nuns, and they're singing Motown hits and everything, and they do that a little bit in this, but no, this is our generation's Sister Act.
This ain't your daddy's Sister Act. We're back in the habit.
We're back in the habit. That's right. I do hate the colon thing.
That was a thing they had to do back then. I was thinking about this particular pun, and I couldn't decide whether I hated it or not. I went back and forth. At first, I thought it was stupid, but I guess back in the habit's a thing people say.
Yeah. Could you come up with anything better?
Oh no, I hadn't thought about it.
I don't like Sister Act. I don't know why. There's something I thought about that title actually earlier. What does that mean? That's not any pun.
It feels like it's referencing something like, but is it just like an old vaudeville act of like two sisters? Is that what it's supposed to be? We're a sister act.
We're a sister act. That's right. Like, I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of with it. But I was trying to think of it in the terms of like nuns and.
They did Catholic that a lot. School. There's probably some instances in this movie. They did it a lot when we were kids where like a lot of what was on screen was like references to show business. And like, but they were handing it to kids and like Midwesterners and like normies, like, so I could see the way people used to write these movies back then. It was like, yeah, you know what a sister act is, and no, I think I do.
Spencer said "sister act," and I don't think that's appropriate.
No, I'll do that.
Spencer, shame on you. Anyway, we're going to talk about Sister Act 2 and not talk about Sister Act. We can reference Sister Act, but I mean, I feel like we get everything we need here. I'm probably going to reference Sister Act more when I get to like my recasting and stuff, but
you keep talking. I have to grab my notes.
Okay, go grab your notes. I'll go through some of in introducing the movie. So Again, the title of today's movie is Sister Act 2: Back in the Habit. It premiered on December 10th, 1993. So we're in December now, even though we're still in November. It was directed by Bill Duke, who is also an actor. I actually just recently watched a movie by Bill Duke on Ryan's recommendation. I forget the name of it now that I'm talking about it. But
Cover.
What now?
Deep Cover? Did he do Deep Cover?
He did Deep Cover. That was the
Barry Fishburne.
Yes, he did Deep Cover right before he did this movie. What a strange.
Also, 1993, he released Menace to Society the same year as he released Sister Act 2: Back in the Habit.
Did he produce?
I think he directed it. That's what I saw in his filmography.
Because we already did Menace to Society this year.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a Bill Duke movie.
Oh, did I not know that? Am I a bad host?
I was going through Wikipedia. I was like, who is Bill Duke? I know that name. And I was looking at all the stuff he did. And I saw 1993. He might have just been a producer, but
he is a presence whenever he is on screen. I'll tell you that. I don't want to just outright say he is a scary looking man.
Yeah.
But he is like his eyes. It's his eyes. They're like super dark and like, I don't know. Every time he comes on screen, I'm like, that guy is scary looking to me. And I don't want it to, don't want Spencer to jump down my throat. Anyway, it was directed by Bill Duke. It was written by James Orr, Jim Cruikshank, and Judy Ann Mason. And I'll go through the cast here. There's a lot of people in here and a lot of people in the cast, but honestly, not that much to do for a lot of these people, which might be my only complaint about this movie. Anyway, we have Whoopi Goldberg as Dolores, reprising her role as Dolores Van Cartier, terrible name. Sister Mary Clarence, also. Kathy Najimy, this is her second movie this year. Sister Mary Patrick. Wendy McKenna, Sister Mary Robert. Mary Wicks as Sister Mary Lazarus. Dame Maggie Smith as Reverend Mother. Lauren Hill as Rita Watson. Barnard Hughes, Father Maurice. James Coburn as Mr. Crisp. Michael Jeter as Father Ignatius, Cheryl Lee Ralph in a very small role as Florence Watson, Robert Pastorelli as Joey Bustamante. I know, right? I'm glad they gave that guy a last name. He's Dolores's manager, Joey Bustamante.
God's great. Can he get you a green room or something like that?
I thought he was kind of funny. Yeah. Thomas Gottschalk as Father Wolfgang, Brad Sullivan as Father Thomas, Alana Ubach as Maria, Ryan Toby as Amal Majomo Jamael, and Ron Johnson as Sketch, Jennifer Love Hewitt as Margaret, Devin Kameen as Frankie. There were a bunch of other students in here, but I just kind of named off the ones that I thought were the most prevalent. I think there's another one, Tanya Blount. I'll talk about her in a little bit as Tanya. Anyway, here's the synopsis that I got from Google. I love these. In this sequel, Las Vegas performer Dolores Van Cartier is surprised by a visit from her nun friends, including Sister Mary Patrick and Sister Mary Lazarus. Doesn't mention the other Sister Mary Robert there. It appears Dolores is needed in her nun guise as Sister Mary Clarence to help teach music to teens at a troubled school in hopes of keeping the facility from closing at the hands of Mr. Crisp, a callous administrator. Can Dolores shape the rowdy kids into a real choir? That's where it ends. This movie has a budget of $38 million and it made $125 million globally. Rotten Tomatoes is not kind to this movie. Nobody's kind to this movie.
Yeah, I was a little surprised how mean people were.
Yeah, it has an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, one of the worst movies that we've done on here, based on that score. IMDb gives it a 5.7 out of 10, and Letterboxd gives it a 3.1 out of 5, which I think is kind of where it needs to be. Like that 3 out of 5, I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. Roger Ebert did not like this movie. He said, this is another one of those dreary retreads about a bunch of kids with no faith in themselves and about how an inspiring teacher coaches them into the state finals where they upset the snobs from the rich school. Roger, he gave it 2 out of 4 stars. And then Jay Boyar of the Orlando Sentinel said, considering how terribly resistible, to me at least, last year's Sister Act was, the sequel seems like a movie miracle. So Jay Boyar, not Joy Behar, liked it a little bit better than the original movie, which I think everybody was kind of like liked the original and didn't like this one as much. But I did mention Lauryn Hill for you, Spencer, and that kind of goes into my legacy. So honestly, we've got a little bit of a lot of people that come after this. So Lauryn Hill is kind of relatively unknown. This is her first acting thing. But this movie goes on to, not only does Lauryn Hill go into, be in the Fugees and then have her own solo album and everything after this, but like this movie was a huge influence on a lot of artists out there. Just to name a couple other people, like Janelle Monáe was heavily influenced by Lauryn Hill in this, and Katy Perry specifically, because this was the only album she was allowed to listen to. She grew up in a very strict conservative Christian upbringing, and yeah, this was the only album that Katy Perry was allowed to listen to, and she references the Lauryn Hill songs that she does sing in here. Jennifer Love Hewitt is in this movie, and becomes a big scream queen in the late 90s. Party of Five, like she was it. This is her first movie. Ryan Toby, who plays Maul, actually ends up being in a group called City High, who have a one-hit wonder. What Would You Do? What would you do if your son was at home crying on a bed because he's all alone, he's hungry? Yeah, that guy. This leads to a big gospel resurgence, like a big glee clubs and all these like singing competitions and stuff. And then also I want to mention that Tanya Blount, she's kind of the other bigger singer in this. Like there's Lauryn Hill and then like Tanya Blount, who has a band called The War and Treaty, which I looked up earlier, and it's like a her and her husband. It's like country bluesy. It's really interesting. I think everybody should go like check out that if you're into that kind of music. It was definitely really interesting. So
the kids are talented in this movie, and they have to be, or it's a wash, right?
Yes,
like, there are just multiple moments that you just wanted more. Like you wanted more of them singing.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people in this not only the kids, if the kids weren't a part of this, and as good as they are, I don't think this movie works at all. Or is it as, cult classic-y or really impactful for our generation as it was. Now I will say there is a lot of talent in this movie. Just going from that list that we like. Maggie's
so good.
The cast is it's too good. Yeah. But like Maggie Smith's in this movie, James Coburn's in this movie, Michael Jeter's in this movie. And that's just three of the Kathy Najimy even.
Always welcome. Yeah.
Who are so good individually and don't get a lot to do in this movie at all. They're kind of put on the back burner. Especially after you've seen the first movie and like Maggie Smith in the first movie. And then, Maggie Smith now from everything that she's done since and all the classic movies that she's been a part of. But like her run on Downton or her in the Harry Potter series, we all know Maggie Smith from those, but like, this is kind of where our generation was first introduced to Maggie Smith is here. And she is barely in this movie.
Yeah. And steal scenes, all of the nuns steal scenes when they're there.
Yes.
Kathy and Jamie she was a big part of our childhood too. I don't remember the actor name. I do remember when I rewatched this that like I had a big crush on like redhead nun. Like
Sister Mary Robert.
Yeah, she was so dreamy, and I remember thinking that as a little kid. So yeah, that was nostalgic too. But and then the actors' names. The squirrely father, who's been in a million movies.
Michael Jeter is that guy's name.
Oh my God, he's always so great in
Green Mile. He's also Mr. He was on Sesame Street for a long time as the character. What was his name on there? Sorry, I'm looking it up right now. But when he passed away in 2003, they continued Mr. Noodle. He was a big part of like Elmo, Mr. Noodle. and they continued Mr. Noodle. I think Christian Chenoweth plays like Mr. Noodle's sister, and there's another actor who's like famous for doing physical comedy that's like Mr. Noodle's brother. Michael Jeter is very special. And was on,
yeah, absolutely. Every time I've ever seen him, I just get happy. He's always swinging for the fence, especially physically, and you love to see that when the actor is that comfortable. Even when he's dancing over the credits, he's getting laughs.
Oh yes, he's perfect.
Principal Crisp is really good. Like he's a really good actor, and he like sells that character. And he's.
I mean, that's James freaking Coburn. Like, if you ever, I think he's from In Like Flint. Those movies, those were his big thing in like the 60s and stuff. And he's been in a lot of westerns, old westerns.
Okay.
Magnificent Seven, I know right off the top of my head. He's in The Great Escape. Like that's an actor. Like from
what's he doing here?
Yeah, what is he doing here is a good point. Somebody in chat just mentioned Lauryn Hill's mom in this movie, which is Cheryl Lee Ralph, who currently is on Abbott Elementary, great comedy on ABC right now. But I mean, she popped up in everything in the 90s. I'm pretty sure she was in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air a bunch of times. Like I remember her a lot. She always kind of plays the Lauryn Hill mom for me.
Also, again, another great actor. Like the problems with this movie, not the acting, when the scenes between her and Lauryn Hill are compelling, despite being very like trite and obvious and not written very well. Like Lauryn Hill should not be as good of an actor as she is.
No.
It's kind of crazy. So like, I even felt that whole plot line with her mom, despite it being a combined 8 minutes,
And like at that time, the guy that plays Dolores's manager too, like that guy is a guy that shows up throughout the 90s. Like I was looking at his filmography. His name is Robert Pastorelli. He's in everything.
Oh yeah.
And he's in this. I mean, he has like 4 lines in this whole movie at the very beginning. And I think his lines are very, very funny. We already mentioned one that he was talking about earlier, but sadly he's passed away as well. A lot of people, but Maggie Smith's still trucking along, 88 years old.
Can't stop
delivering.
The force.
Delivering. All right. So let's break it down a little bit more. What are some of the scenes that really make this movie? I've got like 4 or 5 written down. I've combined a couple. But I'll start with you. What are some things that really pop out to you that you?
Well, I did write down too that it's 20 minutes. It seems like it goes so fast. Like one thing I did write down is this might be the most absurd thing to say about Sister Act 2, but I felt like the premise was a little weak.
Yes. No, you are absolutely right.
It's already a silly movie with a premise that doesn't make any sense. But
like, why would she drop her job? Like, she is like super famous.
Yeah.
In Las Vegas.
For one, drop her job. She's not like in a breach of contract. They don't tell her why she's going. It's like they tell her, we can't tell you why we want to talk to you. You have to come to San Francisco to have this conversation. And then we'll tell you. Like, I don't know what that's about either. And then she agrees. But then they don't even say, we need you to save the school. They're just like, you should be a teacher. You'd be good at it. Like,
she learns that. The other sisters don't even know that the school's failing.
Yeah,
they're just like,
that out. Yeah,
we want you to Edward James Olmos these kids and teach them algebra.
Yeah,
and I don't know. And also, oh my gosh, like based on this small premise that this thing already has, it seems to me that when she is performing, she got famous for being a nun that was put into witness protection and survived.
Because I don't remember it so well, but she wasn't. Was she a headliner in the first?
She was just a lounge singer. She was a part of a group. It wasn't
she was just like dating a mobster and got
caught up. But it apparently became like a big news story because that happens a lot. Or what I wrote down was, obviously in this world, everybody saw the first Sister Act movie, and that's why Dolores is so popular.
Yeah, like she played herself in Sister Act. Dolores did. Yeah, 100%.
Because that's what it felt like whenever she was performing in that very first scene.
Yeah.
Which is
all right. So we're getting to best scenes. What I was going to mention is that it takes 20 minutes. They're going as fast as they can, but it takes 20 minutes to get to the kids, and it's 40 minutes before she goes, I know what I'll do. I'll start a choir.
Yes.
It's a music class in a Catholic school. Like that shouldn't have been a hard thing. So it takes 40 minutes before you get to the kids singing, right? And I think that I was nervous that this movie wasn't going to hold up as well as it did, and it's not great, but like until about 40 minutes in, and then I was in. Like I was in for the rest of it. So the first great best scene I had was Mary Had a Little Lamb when they're in the choir space.
Yeah. Other than the opening scene in Vegas, that was my next scene, was the meeting the class and then getting like, I combine those two where she meets all the people, like you get introduced to Frankie and Sketch and all those people, you learn their names and stuff. And then the Mary Had a Little Lamb starting to sing like thing, which I really loved. But yeah, what was she I want to know, like, I would love to know the timeline, because what was she doing up until the point that she was like, I'm going to turn you guys into a choir?
Why did she think she was there? I don't know. Like it was so weird. Yeah, I mean, they get there eventually, but 40 minutes into the movie, she starts teaching kids to sing. 40 minutes.
Yeah, like how many classes did she go through before she's like, I'm teaching a music class.
Yeah.
These kids are talented.
They're singing about cold beans and collard greens or whatever. Like,
cold beans and collard greens.
They love that song. That's the only song they sing.
And it's only just background noise so they can tell Yo Mama jokes.
Exactly right.
I love that. I told both of those Yo Mama jokes. The first one being Your Mama's so fat she sat on a rainbow and Skittles popped out. Definitely got it from this movie.
Yeah, I think I heard it a million times as a kid.
And then I love Your Mama's so dumb she got hit by a parked car. I think that is one of the funniest Yo Mama jokes ever of all time. But you can only say it if you have people in the background singing cold beans and collard greens.
Yeah.
So one thing I'll say about the Mary Had a Little Lamb scene, two things actually. The rapping by Frankie and Sketch, incredible. They just refuse to sing and they're like, no, we rap. But I love Maria. And
this Love Boat.
Yes, she doesn't know
Mary Had a
Little Lamb, and the only song she knows is Love Boat.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep going back to the script needing to be a bit better, but like the best times I love watching like Whoopi, and I guess it's like a reluctant hero thing. Like it's not as fun when she's like, "Well, I don't want to do this. Oh man, like my room sucks." But when she starts getting into being an inspiring teacher, she's so charming, and she does the whole like, "Hey, we can't make fun of her for that." Like, Mary had this where she came from, and like
Mary had a bald-headed brother named Bart.
Yeah, it's not a great line.
No.
But yeah, so I like Whoopi in this scene. Whenever she gets excited and she's inspiring the students, it's her best acting in this movie.
Yeah. There are times when I feel like some of the other, like maybe Maggie Smith is like phoning it in a little bit, but she's barely in it. I never feel, you're right. Whenever Whoopi is around the kids, I don't feel like she's phoning it in. I think she's enjoying every scene that she has with them. So I agree with you on that.
Well, can we take a little sidebar?
Yeah.
And talk about Whoopi Goldberg. What do you think about Whoopi Goldberg?
I was looking at her Wikipedia earlier, and she's kind of amazing. And then also like, I don't know what to, maybe it's just because of her time on The View. That's kind of
like she had a second career where she puts her foot in her mouth sometimes. Like
which
and I don't know any of the details about that, and would never defend any of it. I don't know, but
no, and it doesn't bother me any that this is her life. Like she is The View Whoopi Goldberg now, but like early Whoopi, like 80s, 90s Whoopi is incredible. This is I think maybe the first woman to get Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. She got the EGOT. Definitely the most famous, probably.
She's probably on TNG around this time on the Next Generation.
Yeah.
She was a big part of my childhood. I was thinking about her through this movie, and like I feel like for the longest time, like you're not allowed to just like love her, but I love her, and I loved her as a kid, and she was always like, I certainly she was one of the few Black women who were on my television screen ever. And she was repeatedly on it, and she was always warm and welcome, and she had her own vibe, her own look, her own comedy, her own personality. I think she should be celebrated maybe a little bit more than she is.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember watching, again, we probably shouldn't have watched these movies when we were younger, but like Sister Act was always on. Ghost was always on. and Sister Act, both Sister Acts and everything. And like when a Whoopi Goldberg movie came out, I got excited.
Yeah.
Like for real, when Eddie came out where she's coaching the Knicks or The Associate, I was excited about those movies, even though those movies are terrible. Or there was one where
Little Rascals.
Yeah, she was Buckwheat's mom in Little Rascals. Like that's absurd. I love that. Yeah, she was such a presence and she was good for kids, and she already had her own career. She had her own like stand-up stuff. She was a big HBO person.
Yeah, she did one-woman shows and stand-up for sure. Yeah, the way she spoke about Star Trek and how she got into that show and how she crafted her own character was very special. I think she's great. And these bring it back to Sister Act. Like you can do the premise of Sister Act. We'll get to your recast in '93, but I think it's going to be a hard recast. I think this movie is a Whoopi Goldberg vehicle, and it has to be her, or it's not Sister Act.
And I know we just did. Yeah, I forgot. She is in also the Brandy Cinderella.
Love that show.
Another thing, like we just did Mrs. Doubtfire on here. I don't know why, but these movies are like seem very similar to me. Not only because like obviously person like getting in disguise and pretending to be somebody else, but like I feel like Robin Williams and Whoopi Goldberg are birds of a feather.
Yeah, have they ever acted across from each other? That'd be interesting.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I like that script.
But yeah, like both like same trauajectory almost, like doing comedies, TV shows. But also going for those really dramatic roles or those dramatic
Color Purple either. But Whoopi like acts in that movie, and it's great.
Yeah, that's like one of her first movies that she does is that movie. So I think that they are, those two alone. And I know they did like HBO stuff together. They did that that charity comic charity thing, whatever. I forget what it's called, but I know that they did that together. So.
Cool. Get us off track, but I was like, you can't like I just wanted to have a Whoopi conversation because I think she's like enigmatic and individual and iconic, like someone in chat said. So she should be thought about.
And I don't really think of her in movies anymore. And again, I think that goes back to I know she's been in a few movies within the last like 10 years, but I kind of wish she would come back to acting because she's pretty incredible. She's a great actress. Like,
yeah, she really is. She's also banging Ted Danson, which is a huge win.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I want to bring this up. If we're talking about Whoopi, I want to go to her bang list or her.
Oh yeah, she got other ones in there.
Yeah, like let me see if I can pull up her personal life. I don't like to do this all the time, but she was married 3 times. She was married to drug counselor in the 70s, a cinematographer in the 80s, and then a union organizer in the 90s. But she also lived with and dated Frank Langella, who was an Oscar-nominated, very famous actor, kind of a strange one. She dated Timothy Dalton. That's a freaking bond. She dated Ted Danson.
Wow.
She's got some other she's got a playwright in here, David Sheen. She dated a dentist, a camera operator, but like
you threw a dentist in there.
Yeah, I threw a dentist in there. Orthodontist. I shouldn't say dentist, it's orthodontist. And a businessman. But I mean, she was it's just kind of crazy that I don't know. I was really thrown back by the Frank Langella, Timothy Dalton, Ted Danson thing. And obviously everybody knows about the Ted Danson time because she made him go in blackface to a Friars Club roast, which is very funny in a bad way.
I was just looking at her Wikipedia and the only 2 things that jumped out was like, oh yeah, she voiced a hyena in The Lion King. And that apparently her stage name comes from Whoopee Cushion.
Well, that sucks.
Which is a choice.
What does it say? Favorite Whoopi quote: I don't want somebody in my house about her never getting married again. That's pretty incredible. I like that. Yeah. Does Whoopi Goldberg have a 1-hour photo? I would watch that. I don't know. I get what you're saying with the comparison of Robin Williams. Does she have something like that where she kind of goes full dark mode? I don't think so. I don't think she's ever done anything like that, but that would be really interesting.
She's definitely a person who still got it, and I could see. I love when actors like of a certain age disappear and they come back, and then they just like they're ready to go with something really new and fresh look for them. So I would love to see that happen for her.
Yeah, she might just be too like, hey, I get paid $1 million or so much like for doing The View or whatever, and like it's easy to just make people mad, so I'll just keep doing that.
Yeah, right.
I think she replaced like Rosie on that show. Rosie O'Donnell. There's another interesting like comedian, actor, person. So very interesting. Good list for somebody with no eyebrows. I want to acknowledge that. Yeah. I never thought about it until like the 2000s or something that she'd never had eyebrows. It's whatever.
You don't need them.
You don't need them.
Yeah.
All right. What's another scene that you had listed here?
So like it's not a good list because it's the obvious scenes. Like it's just set pieces, right? So it's just
it's like performances is what I had. Yeah.
Yeah. His eyes on the sparrow scene when it's that's so good. I remember that very well from a kid. I remember Oh Happy Day from as being a kid. I remember the fundraiser, and I remember the final scene.
Did you have the nun performance in here?
Yeah, well, I may have had it in the what the fuck moments.
Ball of Confusion by the Temptations, sung by a bunch of white nuns.
Yeah, it was a little weird because this movie also like dances around like anything political or social, right? They're from a poor neighborhood, and that's about the most we could say. And then Amal like gets to be like is like little Malcolm X self, but like. So it was weird for that to be so overtly political. And it's a weird song. I need to listen to the original of that song. I assume it's from a musical. It
is a weird song. It's a Temptation song. I want to say the Temptations probably put it out after Marvin Gaye puts out What's Going On.
Yeah.
It seems very like, hey, what's he doing? Or stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody.
Yeah, right.
I bet it comes out after that, and Temptations like, yeah, we could be political. We don't have to sing or the songs that we're singing. We really need to say something with our music.
That makes sense. Yeah, I do. So I wouldn't call it a best scene because I do think like I don't know. They could have done better by the nuns. They could have given them something more consistent and easy to follow to do that would make me fall in love with them all over again. And I think it's a little too chaotic.
Yeah, I think the only reason I listed the scene, 2 reasons, is one, I think they wanted to remind the audience, hey, this is what you came in for.
Yeah.
Remember, we made a bunch of old white nuns sing in the last one, and this is what we do. This is what they do, and they can continue to do this. But then also, I really like what Whoopi says on the bus when she's talking to the children, and she's like, "Those women worked really hard to entertain a bunch of people, and you need to show them respect." And
I remember that line. And she's like, "You're not going to disrespect them. Like, it is very brave for them to stand up and sing in front of you." I thought that was pretty great too, And again, where like one of the few moments the script doesn't fall flat because then I see an adult person teaching children how to like see other people as other people, and I really appreciated that for sure.
Yeah, and then when they get on, it also shows that the kids, while also not understanding what they just saw or what they witnessed, because it's like, hey, we just watched a bunch of old white nuns do this, but like. They respect Whoopi enough. They're starting to respect Whoopi's character, Sister Mary Clarence, enough to be like, okay, we're going to do what she says. It's a good
pacing beat for them to applaud when they come on and encourage them because they haven't fully gotten on board, but they're getting more on board.
And it they felt like high school kids to me. That's exactly the way that a bunch of high school kids would react to seeing that. And then hopefully really, really resonating with what Sister Mary Clarence says there about it's very brave to get up and sing in front of a bunch of people, and we need to respect them. So you better applaud them when they come on.
The last thing I'll add is I had made notes that like up until this moment, pretty much that scene, after that scene, we stopped thinking about being a sequel very much. There's a couple moments. Kathy and Jimmy has that really nice, like warm moment where she's like, you did it again. I can't believe you did it again. I think that's sweet. But you stop talking. The first 20, 30 minutes though, it's like, this movie acts like Star Wars is back. This movie's like, oh my God, you remember, right? How long ago was it? Like 2 years or something? Like, you remember the journey we all went on together. It's so like the violins are hard and they're just hugging each other and like, I can't believe we're back together again. It's very like it's pulling a lot of warmth from the original back.
And it all comes together too easily. And I think you were right about like the first 20 minutes of this movie just kind of being like, whatever, until we get to meet the kids and the students and stuff. It's like, okay, let's do enough exposition to be like, yeah, you're doing it again. You're coming back. You're going to save us like you did in the first movie.
Yeah. And Bill Duke doesn't do the first movie, right? So like,
no.
I feel like that scene after the nuns sing is the line. He's like, okay, this is my movie now. We're moving forward into my movie and we're getting out of Sister Act 1.
I think you're right. And then I think obviously you have Oh Happy Day down as the next scene. Again, this is another movie filled with like montages and like getting people
I did like down montage. Like the montage is great and really well done. So that's one of the best scenes. It was like fun to watch those montages, but it was like montage into Oh Happy Day into montage.
Yeah. Because it's montage. It's what is it? Montage to get the music room like rebuilt and teach the kids, I guess, music as a music teacher after the first 4 weeks of teaching them. If you want to be somebody, you gotta go with some. Oh, okay. Let me stop on this for a second.
The student has to say, "Hey, maybe we should sing this."
Yeah,
the student has to say that. Not the music teacher.
She has it on the board written behind her. If you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. Like, is she just I imagine her just with a stick, like pointing at each line and then just reciting it every class.
Monotone, every class.
Every class. And that
she's like, oh my God, you guys can sing? I was like, you didn't ask?
It's a music class.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. No, Oh Happy Day when I was a child was was I think more special to me than the Joyful scene.
Yeah, no, I think it's better. I wish it was longer. I wish His Eye on the Sparrow came back because those are the two things I remember the most.
His Eye on the Sparrow is now, and we'll get to it because I've had some moments in the last like day and a half with these songs.
Yeah.
But like Oh Happy Day, I think it was something about when I was a kid and when I was young, I wanted to be a singer. Like I even had a music teacher like try and get me into like an all boys choir and do all this stuff. And I was like really influenced by that kid. And I was a tenor and all this stuff. I was like, man, I want to sing like that guy. I can't sing like that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that rewatching it as like a grown man. I was like, oh, I want to sing. It made me want to sing better. Because it's obvious to say, and we'll say it again, but the music is great. The arrangements are great. Not only are the performances, but the arrangements of the songs are really good. So just about every time a musical number is happening, whether it's the La La La's or Little Mary Had a Little Lamb line or the short His Eyes on the Sparrow, it is always really good.
And and Ryan Toby, or is that his name? Or am I just saying your name? Ryan Toby, is the guy that plays Amal in this and sings that Oh Happy Day and plays very timid and going through and like she's finally like get up here and like it's a duplicate of what we had in the first film with Sister Mary Robert where she is very timid and doesn't know how to sing, and then just blasts out with her amazing singing.
Her real voice, because it's pretty impressive. It's not okay because they keep going back to it. I was like, if it's really fake, then I don't think they'd keep going back to it as much as they do.
But I will give them credit though. For 20 years, I was convinced that was her real voice.
It's hard to believe looking at her, but like, the movie did convince me. I was like, I think that's her real voice. The opening sequence of Dolores like lip syncing, and that was not convincing.
Not great. All. No, there's some times that the Lauryn Hill lip syncing and Joyful, I'm a little bit like, it's a little off. It's a little off there, but no. Oh Happy Day, he hits that whistle tone, Mariah Carey like note at the end of Oh Happy Day, and everybody in the audience is like, what the heck? And like Sister Mary Clarence is just like, didn't know that existed. Oh my gosh. Like chills. Seriously, chills.
Yeah. It's so well executed.
And then my next one is Joyful. Is that what do you have anything between Oh Happy Day and Joyful?
So I wrote down the fundraiser because it's the first scene I think of. I don't know that I like it very much.
Yeah.
I don't know that I love it like the other ones, but when I think of Sister Act 2, I think of the fundraiser. It's just like the set piece in the middle that ties it all together. And of course, like going again back to in the 90s, there was a lot of like boomers writing things for kids about things they liked, because it was years later before I knew like who James Brown was, like, or like that these weren't even original songs, other than the church songs, stuff like that.
So I know this is early 90s, and I know children didn't write, or like teenagers didn't write this script or the lines or anything. I was paying really close attention to what the kids were saying. There were a couple moments when they were talking to each other and saying slang terms and stuff like that. And I was really waiting for it to bother me and be like, no kid would say that. No kid would say that. But that never really happened. And
I don't know if
Yeah. I don't know if they got to improv any of that. Because I know Lauryn Hill got to improv a little bit of like when she was rapping and stuff.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they just said, hey, talk like normal kids or talk amongst yourselves or whatever.
Yeah. I don't remember any specifics, because there was once or twice where I was like, oh, somebody wrote a line for like a street tough,
Yeah.
But it wasn't that often. And most of the time it was just like, no, that's whack. And I was like, all right, that's cool. That's
How kids talked in 93. And like, I expected Frank A to really bug me, but no, I was like, nah, he's pretty good. I like him.
He could have easily made that mistake with Frank A. He could have
Yeah.
been an annoying cartoon of what adults think kids are.
Yeah. I always thought he was like 35 too, and not like 19. Like he really
who's
was
35? That weird piano player. Like that
Yes.
guy, when he's just sitting there, he clearly was just like a key grip that they pulled over to like.
Do you know how to play piano? Please.
He doesn't look like he belongs in that neighborhood. He never talks to any of the other kids, but he's there and joyful doing the piano, like in the background. So funny.
I love the background I love the students. They're the best.
Yeah.
No.
So fundraiser, but then joyful.
Yeah, the fundraiser is really good. And I feel like there's a similar scene in the first one too. I know neither one of us rewatched it, but I feel like there's that fundraiser scene is kind of the same scene from the first one where they're like cleaning up graffiti and
when I was remembering the fundraiser scene, I was like, is it in this movie or is
I thought the same thing. I was like, I thought this was in the first one. But yeah, I really did like that. They also made $2,000, maybe $2,000 in 1993 is a lot. It is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. 2,000. I would gladly take $2,000 right now. It would, be amazing. But like they made it. I mean, Sister Mary Robert even said, she's like, it might as well be $1 million.
I took a vow of poverty. Don't come and talk to me.
Yeah. Oh my God, she's amazing. Sister Mary Lazarus is great, and also like one foot in the grave at this point too.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, no, joyful. They get to the contest or
oh wait, I'm sorry. It's the 1993 state music competition. That's the name for this thing.
The state music
competition.
Not even like choral competition or.
It's like the sports game. It's the 1993 sports game.
And we get to see all these other performances, and
which is fun. They really like rapid fired a bunch of little songs in there in different styles, so that was cool.
I loved. I think it was the team that got second runner up. The ones that were dressed in like silk shirts, and they were the revival. That one, that I loved. Good. I loved those. No, I really.
By the way, the last time I was here was talking about the piano, and did you notice the connection between this movie and the piano?
I did not.
One of the quartets with the bright shirts was singing a version of Barbara Allen, which is what little Anna Paquin sings when Sam O'Neill asks him to sing something. She sings Barbara Allen, and I was like,
okay,
yeah,
wow, I did not know that. Well, that's the reason you're on here. I did know that, and I chose to connect these two movies together.
Yeah, absolutely. I chose them both for my love of Barbara Allen.
But that one big army like school sings the exact same same song that they're doing, Ode to Joy, or Joyful, and they're all freaked out. This is like everything comes together, the perfect storm. You got the fathers all coming to this to try and stop them, and we get a little bit, I don't know, some slapsticky stuff, like running around trying to find Sister Mary Clarence and be like, "Hey, you're not a nun."
Yeah.
And they lock.
Yeah, that's all fun energy. Again, everything could be 10% better at least. Like those fathers are already funny. Again, like the actors are elevating everything, but they don't have that much to do.
No,
I guess he's driving crazy, so it's just like they're really just delivering almost expository lines while being wacky and dressed wacky.
And then locking the guy in there with a salami.
Yeah, I did love that he was just running around with a basket. He had a chef toque on, right? And like
Yeah,
he's running around with a basket with a big bratwurst in it for no reason.
I'm convinced Ryan knows who Pepe Sylvia is.
I don't.
He
Vaguely
doesn't know.
familiar, but no.
It's an Always Sunny reference.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go out there. The line that I always remember from this sequence is "Take off your robes."
Oh gosh,
the way that lady,
the lady has to say it like 4 times, like it's not her job, and she's like,
"Your
"I don't know."
teacher said to take off your robes.
Hurry up! Oh yeah,
your teacher said to take off your robes. She just says it in such a voice.
Yeah.
I've always loved it.
Do it now. Do it quick.
Like, and the way
then, real quick, she does that, and they're like, "Huh?" And they're like, "Your teacher told you to do it." And then it smash cuts to them in the same spot, but now Dolores is there. Did you notice that?
Yes.
And then she's like, then she's explaining why she said that, but there's no like little scene in between where like Dolores is over here. It's just take off your robes, huh? What? And then the same shot, like a cut in the same shot, and Dolores is there being like, "Yeah, I want you guys to be comfortable."
I also wonder if they changed the choreography any. If she's like, "Okay, we have 2 different types of choreography, one with robes and one without robes," because I can't imagine them doing all of that choreography, the flips and all that stuff in the robes. Like it just doesn't make any sense. So maybe she was just like, "Nah, let's just do it, whatever."
Well, and again, in the opening of the end credits, the first thing they do is take off their robes and throw them in the air. It's almost like the movie was supposed to be about them like breaking free from like a more a stricter school than they had, you know?
Yeah, that is a weird Catholic school.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Latin class?
As a lover of Latin and someone who amasses or amos. That is not the good way to learn. And then he repeats it. He's just repeating amo over and over again.
He just repeats
first person, second person, third person, and back to first person. They're just doing it over and over again.
That was I've never had Latin. It was taken away from my high school before like the year before I got there. So I was a little bit sad about that. But if it was anything like that class, I'm out.
I had a crazy Latin teacher. It was a little more fun. I don't know what else appropriate to say it, but you were talking about the school. The set is really good in this movie. Like the rooms they're in and the wooden doors and all the details in the background. Like it doesn't have to be that good. It just needs to be a rundown building, but the windows all look really good. The windows that people are constantly walking up to and seeing things they're not supposed to see. But I kept being struck with how cool whatever building they used was.
Yeah, it was a great set and never felt like a set. It felt like they were, filming in the school and it just felt really real. I know it was all on like one street set or whatever they had because apparently everybody lived within walking distance of the school.
Yeah, they all just gathered around a trash can to hang out
around where Sketch worked, that convenience store.
Oh,
Bill Duke.
Remember when that started off as a plot point and then disappears?
Yes.
Yeah, you think that Sister Mary Clarence would have to go and get him permission to get off work or convince his dad that he needs take the money hit. He needs to go follow his dreams. But no, he just stops being tired.
And Bill Duke is actually Sketch's boss who tells him to get back to work. Yeah. So that was fun. Fun little cameo for him in there. All right, who's your favorite character? Who do you think stole the scenes in this movie?
I mean, it's easy to say Whoopi. It's her movie. I will say that I kept waiting for Lauryn Hill to be too young and too concerned with her music career to be good at acting, but I think she did a great job.
Yeah. I actually wrote down all like the main kids.
Mm-hmm.
I put Frank.
Okay, I'm not crazy about, but Amal I thought was really good. Like I think he's maybe the best actor delivering lines. Of the kids.
I loved Maria for comic relief. Sketch, Rita, Frankie, even that nerdy kid I liked.
Yeah. He doesn't need to be there, but he delivers his lines well. He's doing a good job.
That was dope. Yeah, so I just think the kids were really well cast in this, and
Yeah,
even
yeah,
even the ones, a lot of them don't get a lot of stuff to do, but when they do, or they're just like in a montage point, like Jennifer Love Hewitt in a montage, or any of the other actors in there, they get like a one line, and they just do it well. And I think I
I
if they
agree.
did it poorly, it would be a distraction and take out of it. But no, I was convinced like they're all kids.
Rita's friend, I thought actually probably ended up having like up to 10 lines, but needed to deliver some of those very well in the Sparrow scene, and she does. That was a believable friendship, and she was a believable person.
Yeah. I loved when they were like, there's going to be some all boys schools at the choir, and those two girls were like, we're in. Just horned up teenagers.
How about when like Jennifer Love Hewitt's like, what are we going to wear? And someone's like, Airhead. And the other person says, clothes, Margaret.
I loved clothes, Margaret.
That was delivered so funny.
Quotes, favorite quotes that you have from this movie?
Yeah. Silly ones. I guess the first one I wrote down was because this is like commentary from someone, whoever wrote the movie, was like, guilt? I would never use guilt. I'm a nun. It's like, are you trying to guilt me into doing this?
That's
Maggie Smith.
Maggie Smith's character, yeah. Oprah, or sorry, I said Oprah. That's terrible. Whoopi Goldberg has a line after, I think Sketch tells her that he works too much and he needs to sleep. That's why he's so tired. And she goes, baby, save it for Oprah. I don't know why. I love that line. I think she delivers it so well.
Yeah. Which again, I thought that was going to, in that moment, I felt a little like, oh no, like you need to go help him. He's working too hard as a child. And that's going to be a plot line later, but it's not. Yeah.
No, this movie is not. What is the Edward James Olmos movie? Stand and Deliver. This movie is not Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, right. But it's got to reference those things. So there has to be a kid who's working at a store or whatever.
Yeah.
That was one of like the three pair with I had with Stand and Deliver. Well, if you wanted like the serious version of it. No, that's fine. You don't have to bite the donut to know it's sweet.
Yep, I got that one. Talking about sex.
One of the funnier lines in the movie.
Kathy Najimy's great. Go with God, Crispy.
That's the last one I wrote. Go with God, Crispy. It's so dumb to call him Crispy at that moment.
Yeah, and just from Maggie Smith too. Man, that would give. I love when Sister Mary Clarence says, "You lied to me, and you're going to go to hell." She says it to all the nuns.
Yes. That one was really good. I like that. That was Whoopi Goldberg, like classic.
Yeah.
Mary Lazarus again, right? Like when it's supposed to be dramatic because like Rita's like, I have to quit the choir, and she walks away and she goes, give us back our consent form.
Sister Mary Lazarus is great. I have
the other one was like, stop, leave her alone. It's just a piece of paper.
I have another one from Mary Lazarus when she hands over the class to Sister Mary Clarence and she goes, congratulations, you're the new mayor of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah. These lines aren't funny in the moment, but hearing them outside of the context of that movie, it is funny.
Do you know the theme song to Gilligan's Island?
Well, that's my favorite.
Gilligan's Island. What else do I have? If you want to be somebody, you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention.
Sure. I wanted there to be more serious lines, but again, I think the script is lacking. Like, I think there's these moments where she says something inspiring, but it's not the words themselves as a quote outside of the context aren't that great usually. Or they're just very obvious.
I love when Sister Mary Clarence is introducing herself to the class. She goes, my name is Sister Mary Clarence, and I am. And Frankie shouts, yo, mama. It's
not even a joke, right?
No, it's just like, yo, mama. And then she responds with, no, sir, let's talk about your mama, who's so dumb she got hit by a parked car.
Yeah.
Loved it. Good for her.
I did love the principal when he was running around backstage. He's like trying to get past people, and he goes, oh God, what a sea of humanity.
I love the old man. Yeah. He's so cute.
He is so cute.
Crispy says that's Father Maurice says, how are we ever going to find them? He goes, that's easy. Just look for the choir that looks like it just robbed a convenience store, which is a little bit racist.
Yeah, that one struck me. I was like, oh, I didn't know. Also, he was not very well developed as a villain.
No.
Right? Right. So at that point, it was like maybe parts of this movie got cut out where he was more like, I hate these dumb kids. And they're all hoodlums. And if he said that more often, I wouldn't have been surprised when he said that. But yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't know that was your take on these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she ends the movie with Amal saying, "Rumor has it that you're a Las Vegas showgirl," and she goes, "Let's get one thing straight, my dear Amal. I am not, nor have I ever been a Las Vegas showgirl. I am a headliner."
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Get it, girl.
Yeah, girl.
I Z-snapped on that one. My inner RuPaul came out, and I was like, You have any other lines that we need to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I'd close Margaret. You just saved that. I loved what you said. You just saved that lamb's life. So good. No lamb chops tonight. Like, that was funny.
Biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill? I don't know if we have too many scares or thrills in this.
No. I guess the things that aren't lines. I thought she did a really good job going through the hallway stuck to the chair. Like, that made me legitimately
That was
laugh.
very funny. Yeah.
And her whole thing with the ice capades that comes and goes. She's like, I only wanted to be two things in life. I wanted to be a singer and the ice capades. Don't make fun of the ice capades. They were very cool.
She mentioned, I think that's a part of the first movie.
Oh, that might be a callback.
I think it's a callback.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now that, because I think she is talking to, when she's like relating to Sister Mary Robert, I think she brings up the ice capades. Maybe I'm just conflating it and thinking this is the
that would
same
make
movie.
more sense because it's really random otherwise.
It is really random. It's random in the first one, the ice capades thing.
Yeah. For best cry, I did have I really like the moment where the principal who's there to ruin everything runs into the kids and he goes, oh, look at you. You're all so beautiful. Like you
look like angels.
Yeah, you look like angels. He's so overwhelmed with how happy they are and how sweet they're being to him that he immediately is like, oh, well, I can't ruin this. I have to let this happen. I thought that was really sweet.
That was very sweet. I was driving around today, and this soundtrack is not on Spotify, so I only found it on YouTube. The first one is on Spotify, but I was listening to a YouTube version of the soundtrack, and His Eye on the Sparrow, and when they come in together and start doing harmonies, I was just weeping in my car.
Yes, this movie, the music teared me up multiple times because I thought it was so beautiful. Yeah.
In Joyful at the end, when I was laying on my couch watching it today, I not only had chills throughout the entire time that Joyful was on, I thought I was getting sick. I was like, oh my God, am I running a fever? No.
Fever? Yeah.
Yeah. No. Genuine chills. And like, again, tears just start streaming down my face. I don't know what was happening to me, but it was when I listened to His Eye on the Sparrow, I was like, man, this is part of what I really like about like religion and like worship music and stuff like that. When I was into that, and I was like, I kind of miss that a little bit.
Yeah. Like there's deep poetry about feeling safe in the midst of being unsure in that song, and that's why that the song choices were also great. You could have done a lot of different religious songs, but Joyful as us is definitely chosen because it's a very stodgy song that's about being joyful. But it's all about the joy of dancing and singing. His Eyes on the Sparrow is about feeling safe, and then Oh Happy Day also has that same this movie is very joyful. I think it has a very warm, sincere spirit. It's not just trying to be a happy kids movie; it's trying to be like a loving, bright movie. And that comes through. So with that, I kept thinking while I was watching it, because I don't watch these types of movies anymore, like how much a sucker I am for these formulas. Like it doesn't have to be a great version of the formula of like, let's get together, let's save the day, let's be happy and be a family, that I kept getting chills as well, even if it wasn't the best version of that.
Yeah, I think when I gave it ultimately my review, and I like write some blurbs and things like that whenever I do my reviews on Letterboxd, but I was just like, this is a happy movie, and it does nothing other than provide me joy. Yep. And so if I'm in a bad mood or I'm in a bad place, I could sit down and watch this movie, and I know I will be instantly just like you said, whenever that moment comes when he's the old father or whatever sees the kill, like how much I'm just smiling at that point, because I'm like, yes, and I already know what's about to happen, and I know they're gonna win the competition. Spoiler, and everything's gonna be great and everything, and it just makes me so happy to watch a movie like this. Maybe that's nostalgia, maybe because like we've already said, it's not a great movie.
No, it's not. And it's also nostalgia for that format, maybe. Like, I don't think we're allowed to be, even with kids stuff or family stuff, we're allowed to be fully that sincere outside of like the way Pixar does it, or, or like animated movies do it. But yeah, that formula is kind of like dead in the water. So there's both nostalgia, but also like it just works like a major chord. Like your humanity fills in the gaps where the movie's failing.
Yeah, and I don't know if there aren't a lot of these after like the 90s, or if they become a little bit too schmaltzy, or maybe this like they don't work on scripts enough or don't get enough big name actors in movies like this. Maybe it's just like, all right, we have Hallmark Channel movies now, or we have these Netflix original movies that we give $1 million to, and they're not as good.
Yeah. Well, remember, like, all right, what is it? Or early the 2000s or whatever. Like, you had the whole like era of post Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Right. And you had even like the Debate Club version and like the spelling
The
bee,
Great Debaters.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you had all of those things. Those were still having that formula, right? And that was after Remember the Titans hit so hard, you had a bunch of those. But then maybe like The Blind Side killed them all. And I haven't seen a movie like that in a while.
No, I think you're right. And then we got a lot of like music biopics. I think that we're in a comic book and music biopic strain of movies right now. But yeah, you haven't really seen too many like inspirational ones, and I think some of them, I mean,
you know,
like
those things go straight to streaming as well. They may not be
Yeah.
big releases anymore. It might be like when smaller studios are trying to hit different demographics, like a Netflix makes those movies. But if it's not on your radar, you don't know they are out there.
I would say I haven't had a feeling like this. The closest that I could say is a movie called Coda, and I don't know if you've ever seen Coda. It won Best Picture 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
And it's about a child of deaf adults. But it's one daughter who is able to hear, who her brother is deaf, her mom and dad are both deaf, and she's a singer. Already it's set up to be like this same thing. And
I'm already weeping at the premise.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There are scenes in that movie. And I know Joseph loves that movie. There are scenes in that movie where I'm just like breaking down, and it like does just give me so much joy to watch. That's probably the closest I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And everybody got really pissed off about that movie winning Best Picture, but I was like, you know what? It makes people feel good, and that was kind of during a time when we all need to just feel good. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the closest I've seen. But it's not a genre that gets a lot of love as much as it used to. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, we kind of already talked about our like what the fuck ridiculous moments of the movie. Mine was more about like how everybody knows who Dolores is, and how nobody knows who Dolores is at the same time. Like she's such a phenomenon, and everybody knows her story of this witness protection thing. And then like she goes to the school to do the exact same thing that apparently was on the news all over the place, and nobody seems to know who she is.
Yeah, with the exact same nuns for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other what TFs I had, I'll go back again to say that there's a lot of scenes of people randomly eavesdropping or showing up to windows to see what's going on.
And learning nothing.
But always looking through windows. And then I did think it was a little what the fuck when Rita tries to get the whole class to leave, and then they're like, oh wait, we'll fail, I guess we'll stay. And then she looks at them and goes, so much for friendship, and storms out. I was like, whoa, are you guys? I didn't know you guys were all friends. I don't know what the big deal is here. Like, I don't know.
And again, how long is she not in that class? It looks like she's staring. She sees them from across. Is she just going home? Does her mom know that she's missing class? Like,
well, that was the most ridiculous looking through windows, and it happened twice with her and with Crispy, because it feels like they're in like a Harry Potter tower. And Lauryn Hill's like on a roof, like a pigeon shit covered roof, looking through like a dirty window. And I was like, are you in the way to something? Where is that window looking at? Like, and Crispy comes and follows them, sees them there too. But then, yeah, Dolores is eavesdropping about, like over through the doorway. And there's just a lot of that in this movie. They're poor exposition. But I thought
Frankie and Sketch are eavesdropping at one point, and that has no payoff.
Yeah, they're looking through a window. Yeah, they're able to hear what's being said through a window from the outside, and that's how they learn the school's going to shut down. Yeah,
not a lot of communication there, but yeah, I that's funny that you picked up on all those eavesdropping things. Yeah. All right, which one's your favorite song though?
I think I think, yeah, it's got to be His Eyes on the Sparrow, because I think I could listen to 100 versions of that and like them all just as much. And I don't think that's true about Oh Happy Day.
Yeah, I think Joyful. I agree. I think I had those three written down: Joyful, Joyful, Oh Happy Day, His Eye on the Sparrow. His Eye on the Sparrow is my favorite. It just, Jesus,
It's just a gorgeous song.
Oh
Yeah,
my
gorgeous
God!
melody,
And both
words.
those women just singing that, it's just incredible. I think Joyful, Joyful is like the most iconic thing.
Yeah, I think Oh Happy Day has an amazing arrangement for this movie.
I agree.
Right? Because they bring the La La La's into it, and then they have a great beat, and they bring a bunch of different stuff into it, and all the medley stuff. Like, they're just, the opening sequence isn't my favorite, but it's just like, clearly this is like also trying to be a jukebox musical, which it eventually becomes on stage.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it is. It is a musical.
So
The first one, I think.
Yeah, somebody's out there loving like how mashing up songs together.
Yeah, I love His Eye on the Sparrow, but I also think that Joyful, Joyful is just, I used to sing that again so much when I was a child, especially the rap parts, and used to go around being like, "You down with G.O.D.? Yeah, you know me."
That song, I don't remember it this way, but especially I was watching with subtitles because you can't hear the lyrics as easy, but those lyrics are really beautiful too.
Yeah. The rap part of that song of Joyful, Joyful, written by Ryan Toby Amal.
Okay, yeah, so they let him do it. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. Fun little fact there. That's dope.
That's dope.
All right, I'm gonna do this because why not? I did a fuck, marry, kill. I want you to do Sister Mary Robert, who is redhead, Sister Mary Patrick, Kathy Najimy, and Sister Mary Lazarus, because she's wonderful.
Oh my gosh. I want to. That's so hard. I mean, yeah, I guess I don't remember the Marys. I guess I have to kill Mary Lazarus. I don't want to.
Again, none of these people have money, so you can't marry them for money.
True. But I think I would be very happy in a marriage with either of the two others. They both seem so sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably Mary. Which one's it's Mary? Which one's which?
Mary Robert is redhead.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'd fuck Mary Robert and then marry Kathy Najimy, who I'd love to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah, I think that's the only answer to this. I also here's what's
boring, because they're both like would be equally marryable. But I guess Kathy Najimy might be more fun.
I think she knows more, like culturally, and I would actually have conversations with her.
Yeah. She's had more adventures. Yeah.
She's down. She talks about sex.
Yeah. I would love to be the donut, sweet donut she bites.
Exactly. I want to be the sweet donut that she bites. All right. Who do you think gave the overall best performance?
Overall best performance would have to go to. I mean, it's just like nobody's given a bigger performance than Whoopi and Lauryn Hill. So I'm gonna say Whoopi, but she should have demanded a better movie.
Yeah, and I mean, I think she
helped write this movie.
Did she?
I know she should have. I don't know.
Oh, she should have. Yeah, she could have punched up a lot of stuff, and I'm sure they gave her some room to like improv and stuff.
There are certain lines in there that like I can feel like when she's telling the I forget what line she says, but she points to the weird piano dude and was like, "Oh, he's laughing, he gets it." I was like, "Oh, that's because you improv that." Like,
yeah. I think she's special, but yeah, I think Lauryn Hill kills it in this movie, and I'm kind of sad that we don't get any more like Lauryn Hill performance other than obviously we get her for music and stuff, but like she was solid.
We talked off camera because I didn't see your Poetic Justice pod, but I was like, "Oh, I thought she did a really good job there," and you were like, "I don't think so." But then now seeing like Lauryn Hill be like younger than Janet was like doing acting, I was like, yeah, I guess she didn't do that well.
I don't even know how old Lauryn Hill was in this movie. If it's 93, yeah, she looks very young. 75 is when she was born. So, what is that? 18 or 17?
Yeah. So she naturally does the like sassy thing easy, and I'm not surprised by that. But she did sadness very well, like in this movie. Like when she was sad, she expressed it in different ways, not just by being dead-eyed. But yeah, it's got to be between those two. It was hard for me to pick only because like Kathy Najimy never does anything wrong, but she just doesn't have as big of a role.
Yeah,
you know, so.
It's not as big as the first movie, and I guess the emphasis is more on the children in this than it is, the nuns and stuff. She's not trying to save a convent; she's saving a school instead.
Amal like also knocks it out of the park, but just doesn't have quite enough range of things to do.
I love his character of like the what is that, Nation of Islam-ish character, right. The Malcolm X-y character. Like I think he's very funny, and like how annoyed everyone around him gets.
They're so sick of that.
Yeah, it's very funny to me. So
it's like, what are you gonna steal from us next? He's like, I'm gonna steal your girlfriend.
I'm gonna steal your girlfriend. But he doesn't. He like bows up a little bit at one point, Frankie.
Yeah, at that moment, he like I was like, because he's like a little guy too, but like he comes with a lot of big guy energy, and I like that. And when he flourishes and owns the music and such, because you could tell he's a good dancer too, and he understands the choreography. Lauryn Hill, also a great dancer. Like I never saw her visually in anything. I'm sure I saw some music videos. I only ever heard the Fugees and stuff, but that brings a lot to it as well.
Yeah, I just looked at her filmography. She doesn't have anything, like nothing really at all. It's like television appearance and a couple things, but no. I'm focused on music, which is good because I mean she was amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely
amazing and super talented. So, all right, 1993 recast or 2023 recast. I honestly didn't do a 1993 recast because I don't know who I mean. You could recast the nuns, which is what I ended up doing in 2023.
Yeah.
But like, I thought the kids were really good.
Yeah, and it's not like I know a lot of like.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of like children actors or anything like that, or teenage actors even. I wanted more sketch. I actually kind of liked his rapping, and I don't know. I wonder what he did after this.
Another good actor too. Like I liked him on screen, and he was kind of sweet too. He was one of the first people to like get on board with it all.
Ron Johnson is his name.
Ron Johnson.
Good old Ron Johnson. You know Ron. I did 2023. And I always do this thing where, I bring people back for so I was like, hey, how cool would it be if Lauryn Hill was Sister Mary Clarence? I don't think she would be good at it. I think I put Jennifer Hudson, honestly, as Sister Mary Clarence. She has said many times that Whoopi Goldberg was like a big influence on her, specifically the Sister Act. And so I was like, she can sing. She can act. She was amazing in Dreamgirls and other things that she's disappeared. I think she's been in a few comedies too. Like, I think she could really do that. For Reverend Mother, the Maggie Smith role, I picked Helena Bonham Carter. Hear me out.
Oh, okay.
There's only a 4-year difference. She's 57 years old. Maggie Smith was 61 in this movie.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah.
So,
yeah, she would bring a lot to it. She would have to be more restrained.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, let's bring her back. She could be Sister Mary Patrick. She could be the Kathy Najimy character.
Yeah.
And then I put Vanessa Hudgens as Sister Mary. I struggled with Sister Mary Robert. That redhead was such an.
I thought you were going to say Jennifer Love Hewitt for that.
No, I went with Kathy Najimy's character for Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Okay,
she's like, I want to say she's like 50 now or something like that. So
we're
late 40s. But yeah, I couldn't think of anything for Sister Mary Robert. That is like one of my top 5 like crushes when I was a child.
Yeah. Absolutely, me too. What's her name? Jayma Mays. She's a redhead.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Like that. Yeah.
No, that's really good.
But I like her a lot.
No, that's excellent. I love that. That's a really good cast. Do you have anybody?
She played that character in Glee.
Yeah, it's the exact same character. You're right.
Yeah, the sweet teacher. Yeah.
No, Jayma Mays. That's good. That's really good. I really struggled with this one. So.
Yeah, I didn't really give it a try.
Yeah,
because I don't know 2023 actors as much as I don't know 1993 actors. So I'd have to do some work to get something decent.
And I don't know. I just think obviously I think they are doing a Sister Act 3 on Disney Plus eventually.
Sure.
So it's not like they're ever going to redo this movie. They're just going to keep Whoopi Goldberg until she dies.
That's going to be a huge comeback for the Catholic Church.
They need it.
Do you also remember growing up and like priests were just in every movie? Like,
yeah, we had Rudy earlier this year, and like priests were they were cool
characters in TV shows and movies. Used to never talk about God or church or religion, and then at the end of the second act, when they needed advice, would just go talk to a priest because that's what you did.
Yep, with Kevin in
after
Home Alone,
point, we never saw another priest in a movie unless they were horrible.
Yeah, Doubt, Spotlight, they kind of ruin things.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic Church didn't help. All right. Disney will 100% remake this in the next 20 years. Yes, they will. You're right. You're absolutely right.
They just did Hocus Pocus 2, right? They're probably just going to start doing all of that.
They're just going to start doing these little remakes and stuff.
Mighty Ducks will come back.
They've already done a Mighty Duck. They have a Mighty Ducks TV show on Disney Plus.
Oh, I do think I'd heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they just to bring back like some of the characters and stuff for the nostalgia. They did it with Boy Meets World, Girl Meets World. Like they were like, hey, here's a taste of this. So all you millennials can come in and watch this show. But really it's this show. So
yeah, exactly.
Disney knows what they're doing. Any fun facts that you learned about this movie?
No, nothing that we haven't already said. I don't think.
Nobody died in this movie. There's a body count of 0.
Nobody died making this movie.
Whoopi Goldberg's daughter, Alex Martin, is one of the classroom children. She's the one that says the "Yo Mama" line about Skittles.
Oh, okay. So she had a teenage daughter at that point too.
Yeah, she was married in the late 70s, is what it said.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, 14 years old.
She was so young. Yeah,
that is crazy to me.
When I look back and I remembered she was in it, I was like, oh, I do remember that she was in it. But I assumed because she becomes so huge that she was already bigger than she was. So I was surprised when it was like minute 30 and she gets her first line and she just goes, huh? Like her first line is just like, what? I was like, oh, she's not nothing. She's so young. Like she's not meant to be important in this movie at all.
Clothes, Margaret.
Clothes, Margaret. That's what we're going to wear, you dumb bitch.
I already said the thing about Lauryn Hill rapping. All of her rapping on the court was improvised. She did all that.
Cool. They were good lyrics too.
Yeah. I feel like we've already done this. I usually save this if it's a bad movie. I don't think we agree that this is like fully on a bad movie. I think we also don't agree that this is a fully good movie. Mm-hmm. So I guess we could skip. I said the story's weak. It misuses a lot of talented people, and it's kind of a lame retelling of the first. Like
the pacing's bad, and the jokes need to be funnier.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. All right, like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
I said a pretty obvious choice, School of Rock.
Oh, good one. I skipped right over that one.
Yeah.
I said Pitch Perfect 2.
Oh, yeah, the good one, right?
To go with the sequels. And then I also said Sound of Music to get a little bit of a nun thing going.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I also thought about Nuns on the Run.
Nuns on the Run.
Nun comedies. There's others out there.
Flying Nun.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a TV show.
Isn't the Elvis movie? Elvis is in a movie with nuns. I forget what it was called.
Oh, you're right. I can't think of what it's called either. But what was the other one? Stand and Deliver. That was
Stand and Deliver. Yeah, if you wanted to do like silly and then very serious, Stand and Deliver is a movie I love deeply and make me sob. Yeah,
great movie. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we did pretty good there. If you gave it a rewatchability rating, what would you give it?
So I think that there's always, I think I would. Oh, my rewatchability rating. I think my rewatchability rating would get 3.5. Mm-hmm. 4 seems too high. Yeah, 3.5. That's definitely rewatchable.
Yeah, I think I gave it a 4, just because, like, again, the joy that I had after watching this, I was like, let's restart it. I'll do it again.
Yeah, I spent the first half an hour going, oh, it's mostly nostalgia. This movie's going to suck, and it's not going to be much to say about it. And then it got better and better, and I had more and more fun. And by the end, my spirit was soaring. So I'd definitely go on that journey again in a year if I wanted to, sure.
Yeah. Overall star rating, what'd you give it?
I would give it a 2.5, and maybe my nostalgia would give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I think that's where I gave it a 3. I think my nostalgia bumped it up a half star. So, again, not a great movie, but gosh, it made me feel so good inside. So,
and it wasn't my favorite as a kid. And the nostalgia, like we talked about earlier, is for the format. as much as it is for the movie. It's for both.
Yeah. Well, is there anything we missed about Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit? Sister Act 2 : Back in the Habit. I don't think so. I think we nailed everything.
I said everything, yeah.
So thank you, Ryan, for doing this movie with me. I hope to have you on again. We've got several movies here for the next few weeks as we finish up 1993. Has there been anything that you've watched lately that you could recommend to anybody, or even if it's not something that you've watched recently, is there anything that you would love to recommend to people?
Oh, that's interesting. I actually don't know that I could pull something off out of my head, because I was just going to say no. I don't think I've watched a single movie since I watched The Piano. I think I've watched Twitch and The Boys.
Well, those are both things that I think count.
Yeah.
I haven't watched The Boys. I think I've watched like 4 episodes of The Boys.
It's taken me so long to get around to it, and it was what I heard it was, and I expected it to be. It was better than I expected it to be.
Yeah,
but
I think
it's pretty triggering. It's a really dark show.
Yeah,
So then I finished watching Good Omens 2, because that's a very happy show. Had a great conversation with a friend about how it's nice to have happy, optimistic content that is not also insipid or cheesy and lame. So it's smart too.
Very good. I haven't watched that. I think I watched the first episode of that and never kept up. I'm terrible with TV.
What about the first season of Good Omens or the book? Do you know those things? Okay, strong recommendation for anybody who never has. Reading Good Omens, the book, is one of the rare moments that a book can be very funny and very creative. Yeah, definitely Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett writing together. Good Omens is dope.
The only recommendations I have are I watched a couple like 4-star movies right in a row. I watched a new movie on Netflix by David Fincher, The Killer.
Tell me about this. Yeah,
definitely really good watch, especially if you are a fan of David Fincher. It's a little bit comical and dark as his tones are. I watched Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola. I talked to you about that off this. And then I also watched The Holdovers, Alexander Payne's movie, in theaters this past week. It was very good. I do recommend that for anybody. It's very heartwarming in the same sense of not necessarily as cheesy as Sister Act 2, but definitely heartwarming. And I had some good moments watching that movie. So those are my recommendations.
Cool.
But next week, we're going to shift things a little bit from this happy-go-lucky Sister Act 2. Next week, we are going to be talking about Schindler's List.
Oh, okay. Back in the Habit.
Schindler's List, Back in the Habit.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Can't look forward to that.
This is why I think I'm changing things next year, so I don't have such drastic moments where I'm like, Sister Act 2, Schindler's List, grumpy old men. Like,
I kind of like that, but yeah, I get why you might not want to.
Yeah, so that one's going to be a fun one. It's been a while since I've seen Schindler's List, so.
Well, let's just say I'm very excited to be in chat for that one.
Oh, good.
Not on camera.
I'm going to see who wants to do that one with me. I think it's going to be a really, really good one. But it is streaming. I think, obviously, you can rent it anywhere, like video on demand, anywhere, Amazon, Apple, all those places. I do believe it is streaming on Paramount Plus. If you have Paramount through like their partnership with Showtime, if you just have Showtime, you can stream it through there too. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend watching Schindler's List once in your lifetime. Absolutely.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll talk a lot about that. Steven Spielberg's second movie of 1993. So do check that out. Other than that, thank you, Ryan, for doing this with me. And I really appreciate it. I love whenever you get on here and talk to me about movies. And we'll do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Thank you so much. All right, if everybody wants to just pause for a second, I'm going to do a thing where I'm going to try and raid people so that I can get maybe some extra followers. So we'll see if I can just be a nice person and raid somebody. So just bear with me as I try and raid somebody. So
first raid.
I know, right? All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. This has been 52/1993. We'll see you next week when we talk about Schindler's List, and maybe I'll reveal next the 1994 list that we're going to do, a little bit more about that, and we'll get ready for some awards and everything. So we'll see you next week on 52/1993. Thanks, everybody.